Squad podcast episode 18, and it seems like early spring is a tough time for the three of us to be on the same schedule. This week, Seth is on vacation, spring break with the family, so you get a dynamic duo. And I'm going to say a dynamic duo because this isn't the dynamic duo, because really any combination of the three of us is pretty much a dream team. But this week, it is Mason and me. If you missed last week's episode, it was awesome. I was on vacation with my family. But I have to tell you, Mason, you guys absolutely crushed it.
Well, appreciate it. We obviously missed you. I think for us and for a behind the scenes look at things, Bill does most of the herding of the cats, i.e. Seth and myself. So when he told us he was not going to be on, it was kind of like a last minute scramble of like, hey, what's the agenda for this week? What do we want to talk about? And so, Bill, obviously we stuck to our guns, went back to, which I said stuck to our guns. And then the AI was generating us as like Western cowboys. So yeah, so stuck to our guns, went back to kind of talking about our experiences in the garden center world. And so, yeah, I had said that, I thought that might have been a podcast that you should have been on, but then you alluded to the fact that maybe not.
No, it's true. Yeah, I do want to add my 2 cents to it. And I do have a good, bad, and ugly garden center story to share. But it occurred to me while I was listening that our experiences are so different, because you guys were talking about plants as being the best part. Seth said he hated plants, but he doesn't. He loves plants. It was very clear through that episode that he is probably the plant nerd of this group, basically just because he read a lot of tags while he wasn't watering. No, it was appropriate. It was appropriate that you guys tackled it without me, because I worked at a feed store and it was different. We were a consumable product store. So we sold birdseed, grass seed, dog food, cat food, bird food, like indoor bird food. We sold like chinchilla food and guinea pig food. And then outside we had, 200 hanging baskets of full, but just pallets on cinder blocks of annuals in the front, perennials in the back. We sold mulch and limestone and pea gravel and all that kind of stuff to home gardeners. We sold landscape edging, like that we cut for people, delivered mulch, but we were not a garden center. Like we were a town and country store in the suburbs, which is interesting. Because historically, we were a farming area and the store was a Farm Bureau store. And then over the years, it had transitioned into this petroleum delivery company bought it, and we were operating it and selling like domestic pet feed. It was just very different. But
do you guys sell propane?
Yeah. We filled tanks. We actually didn't do tank exchanges. We filled tanks, which was a big deal because, so we all learned how to fill propane tanks. Yeah, you talked about finger fatigue carrying pots. When you fill propane tanks, when you fill like 100 propane tanks on the Saturday before Memorial Day, you get propane finger, which is when your finger smells like propane for like a week and a half. And that is a foul smell. It's actually a fake smell. It's a smell that's added to a scentless product so that you know if it's
what there's a leak.
Right. And it's manufactured.
Why did they pick that scent?
I don't know. It's horrific. And when your finger smells like it for like, a week and a half, yeah, it's vile. Anyways. So, all right. You want to hear my one good, one bad, one ugly?
Yeah.
All right. Good. My favorite part was the customers. And it was because we were a consumable product store. So people come in every single Tuesday for their birdseed because they generally were older customers. I mean, it's a hobby for people over, or Wednesday or Thursday, but they come in once a week and buy 25 pounds of wild bird food. And we mixed the seed ourselves. So like we brought in bulk sunflower, bulk millet, bulk safflower, peanuts, everything. We'd mix it ourselves and they would come in to buy our mix. So we had like 4 proprietary mixes. And so we saw the same people every Tuesday to buy birdseed.
25 pounds is a ton of birdseed.
25 pounds but you can go through it pretty quick. If you have like 4 feeders, that's probably filling 4 feeders twice.
Who's feeding that many? Oh, we have 1 bird feeder.
I have 2.
Who needs 4 bird feeders?
If you're retired and your passion is watching birds and being right on the Great Lake here, I mean, we get a lot of, like, I don't know as much about birds as some of my friends. Now I'm hitting that age range where like I have buddies that are birders and I'm like starting to think, well, maybe I should start looking at birds. And now you can just get an app that identifies them by their sounds. So it's like so much easier than buying the Audubon Society book, which we also sold. at the feed store. So
I like
anyway,
but I
good.
wanna wait, hold
Good.
on. I liked that your mention of the Great Lake, almost as in Lake Erie is the singular Great Lake,
It's
and
the
the rest
greatest
of the
lake.
Great Lakes are just there.
We call it our Great Lake. I mean, I live a mile and a half
Hey,
from Lake Erie,
you can
so like it is a
guess what?
part of my DNA.
You can have it.
I know. I was gonna say it's probably literally a part of my DNA. Like I probably drank so much lake water. It's why I'm so healthy.
You can have Lake
Um,
Erie. Alright,
Yes,
anyway,
why I'm
the
gonna
people
live to the
coming into
ripe old
Viburnum.
age of 60. All right, so yeah, customers, and they love the old school vibe of our store, right? Like
Yep.
we had wood floors, like we had
Mm,
wooden grain bins where we had a grain elevator in the middle of the suburbs, and people would say, "Oh, I remember coming here with my grandpa." Like the store had been around since gotta been turn of the century, so the old last century, not the current century I was born in.
took a minute to I was
Yeah, I know,
also born in that century.
barely. All right, the bad side, and this came to me quick, and I'm really like you touched on it a little bit with getting up at 2 in the morning to go to farm market. Seth, I don't think you touched on this. To me, it was working weekends. Like, and
Oh,
part of it was because
love that.
I was going to school full time. So like I was a
Mhm.
full time college student all week and working full time 40 hours plus at the feed store. So the weekends were like it was drudgery.
See, I
Like
didn't have anything else to
I
do
was
on the
living in an
weekends.
apartment with my buddy who also worked at the store, and we were not going to bed at 9 o'clock on Friday night, let's just say. So going in on Saturdays at 6:30 to open that store at 7 was rough.
Hey, as I tell my kids, Bill, life's all about choices.
It is. It's very
Oh,
much about choices. And then I actually was thinking, like, when we worked Sunday, we were open Sundays also, 10 to 5, but our boss, our manager, Jamie, didn't work on Sundays. Like, that was his day off. And so he would take his big Catholic family. He would go to church right up the street from the store at like, I don't know, at like 10. So we were supposed to have the store was supposed to be open at 10, gates open, lights on, doors opened, and usually someone out watering in the summer. And he would come up the street in his minivan at like 9:57 to get to church at 10. And then there were a few days when maybe those gates weren't open at exactly, weren't open by 10. And he would know, and we would see him swoop in the north side entrance and come around the back. And we were like, oh my God, Jamie's here. Everybody get outside, open the door, start watering. Like it was hilarious. But all right. So that's the bad. The ugly. And this is just a story. I just remember a story, and this is my favorite story from working at the store. It was so we closed at 6. And it was like, and we would start closing at 5:50 because the boss he never stayed till 6. He would always leave at 5 or something or 4, go pick his kids up from school or whatever. So the college and teenage guys would close the store. You know how it is. It's like a Friday night, 6 o'clock. Nobody's coming in after 5:30 on a Friday unless they need propane, which is a pain.
right.
So we started closing the store down about 15 minutes early, and someone's knocking on the door. And we had noticed a note on the counter saying this lady, Mrs. Hively, she was actually a garden writer in Cleveland. So chances are someone even might know her. So she would come in once a week for dog food. But we noticed a note on the counter that said, Mrs. Hively's coming in on Friday for wire. And we sold wire out of like 150-foot rolls. So we would cut it like
Yeah,
to the length you wanted. And this was like welded wire. And so she needed like 6-foot welded wire. And it was down in like our sub basement. It was gross. There were rats down there. You had to lay it down, roll it out on the floor because we had like measurements by foot spray painted on the floor. You'd have to roll it out, drop a cinder block on the end, and then cut it. And it would no doubt just roll right back up on your hands and
yeah,
scratch you up. It was a terrible job. We
yeah,
always sent like the newest guy down to cut wire
yeah.
because you had to crawl basically into the sub basement to do it. And so we were like, oh man, I've Hively's come in for this wire, and none of us wanted to cut it. So we locked the door, turned off the lights, and we all hid on the floor behind the register while she's knocking on the door because the gates were still open to the lot.
Yeah,
She's knocking on the door, yelling in, I know you're in there. I know there's someone in there because her cars are in the employee lot. We're just like silent, like nobody say a word. And so eventually she leaves. And then that was a Friday night. She was in there Saturday and we were all working. Boss was there and she let him have it. And he was a great guy, but he was like a guy's guy and he let us have it. Like he called us all in the back. And I mean, the words that were used or enough to like curl your hair. He was furious. And then we had to cut her wire. He gave it to her for free. We had to buy lunch. Like it was just one of those. So yeah, the camaraderie amongst employees, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Was wonderful.
No,
Loved it.
that's it's the best.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
So
I,
that's my good, bad, and my ugly.
I almost texted out some of the guys that I used to work with this morning. A memory had just come into my head because we also the same crew that used to work the greenhouse. We also built greenhouses from time to time. Like we
Okay.
because so my
Is that
dad
because your dad was selling them?
So yeah, great racket is that my dad had his company would sell you the greenhouse and
Yeah.
then like they would
Sure.
kind of subcontract out like now he doesn't do much of it but like he has guys that build it for people if they want it built and
Okay.
so but one of them was like this like weird like attachment to it was a cider mill like kind of
Okay.
like a fall touristy place and they had a cafe and we were building this and the guy that was, like, supervising the project from the cider mill place, like, not like he was supervising us, but it was like he was like, "Hey, come out and build me this," and he was our point of contact. We're there, and we're kinda asking him some questions, and I remember the answers where he was like, I don't know." But then he just quickly shifted and was like, "You boys ever been to our cafe?" And we're like, "No." And he was like, "You gotta get the mill burger." And he went on a 30-minute spiel at 7 AM about this mill burger. So so and so so I'll never forget my buddy Brad just being like, "Oh, the mill burger, it's amazing." And so we're working there, so at lunch, we went to the cafe, and we're like,
Yeah, of course.
We gotta get the mill burger."
Millburger.
And it was, like, the most basic
Just like an average burger. Huh.
but for years after the fact, we'd always be like, "Oh, the mill burger is amazing." And so, today I was walking downstairs and I was like, "The mill burger is amazing." And I was like, "Oh, dude, I haven't said that forever." And so I almost
See,
texted
that's why you gotta text them, because then everyone will have that story.
well, I mean, over the weekend, I got a video from the group that was my buddy who's down in the Carolinas.
Okay.
I get them confused. I can't ever tell North Carolina,
Yeah.
South Carolina, where the
I mean,
cities
unless
are.
you're from there, they're kinda the same.
But, like, I know Raleigh, North
Yeah.
Carolina, Charlotte,
Oh, yeah.
North Carolina, but,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I know I guess Charleston's in South Carolina?
Charleston. Yeah.
So, I think he's in North Carolina, but he's in the
Mm.
southern part. Anyway, he sent me a video from the wild, and it was he's standing maybe, like, 50 yards away from this pot, and then it's just
Mhm.
him zooming in the video, and in this pot is the saddest little pot you ever seen. There's just, like, 2 plants of Dusty Miller, and he tags it, and he's like, "Spotted in the wild."
Spotted
He's
Dusty
like,
Miller.
"Looking glorious." And I was like, "There it is."
Yep. Related to Marvin Miller.
Probably
Well, it's
named
funny
after him.
because so I was texting last week at spring trials with one of my garden center buddies, Steve, who lives in Florida, and he actually sells propane, which is the best sort of full circle,
Circle.
and that's probably and he's like really good. He's like a regional manager and he's phenomenal at it. And he's been doing it for years, but I'm pretty sure that first job interview and he could say that, yeah, he'd filled a lot of propane tanks. And
He's
he
like, "Listen,
actually
propane
he
finger doesn't
started
scare
well,
me."
Andy started growing his territory with greenhouses. So, I don't know, it was just one of those things. But yeah, I mean, we're constantly texting funny stories back and forth about the garden center. And I guarantee if I said, remember the Mrs. Hively story, he would be like, oh yeah. He would know exactly what I was talking about because I'm sure he was there and he was probably the ringleader of it, even though he's younger than me. I probably felt guilty. Those guys were in high school and they were just trying to hide. They had no interest in because I was going to make them cut the wire. So, anyways, do you want to hear about my week last week?
Well, so that was what I was gonna say. It was spring trials, everything you dreamed it would be.
No,
Is
it was okay. So
it
it was in a
more?
way, and this is gonna be raw because like I really haven't had a whole lot of time to debrief. I was making some notes this morning just because everybody asked, "What'd you see out there?" and "What'd you see out there?" and I've had some generic answers so far for people, but
Here's what I'll ask you, Bill.
yeah,
How
go
did
for
you
it.
how did you feel out there? I think that's more important.
I felt good, like, well, but it's hard because there's so many stops, right? So we did 5 days of trials, and each day had maybe 2 stops per day.
Yeah,
One day we had 3,
yeah.
but each stop is different. But like the first day we did ball. You got 5 companies, 1 facility. I mean, I can talk about that whole vibe. And then, then you might go see Benari. and Benari exhibits by themselves in a greenhouse, whole different vibe. And then historically, you've had this group of companies just maybe the past 5 years who exhibit at Santa Barbara Polo Club, which is
Mm,
very ritzy polo club, but they pop up tents and they're very different companies. Like you've
hmm.
got Plant Haven, who's like, brings super crazy, wild, unique products to market. They don't do their own breeding. Then you've got like Jaldetti and Hishtil, like Israeli companies that focus on herbs.
Yeah, they
Then
were
you've
up
got
north the last time I went.
Suntory, which is like Japanese breeding company, but like besides the Mandeville and Diplodonia, they're pretty much a straight garden plant company. Petunias, Biddens, Lobelia, that kind of stuff.
And what's a plant that is about to and probably hitting markets right now? One,
Yes, Cincinnati,
yes, which
Cineraria.
that's a cool plant to me
It is.
because
They
it's
didn't have one. They didn't have any there that I saw, which is weird because this time of year, they usually look pretty good out there.
yeah,
So yes, the vibe. So how did I feel out there? I felt great because I know a lot of people and been doing it a long time, and you get the really kind of the scoop on early season. Talk to people about how did last year wrap up? What are you excited about? And then obviously everyone's happy because they're showing new stuff.
yeah,
And any company likes to show off their new stuff, no matter
yeah.
what stuff that is. And in our industry, it's pretty stuff, so it's even more fun. But so my overall, like my 30,000 foot level takeaways that I wrote down are low risk, like yeah, so we'll just say low risk, conservative, and then minor upgrades and line additions. And then Me Too's. So that's where I saw most of the trends. Like conservative meaning we're not I mean, I think there's some geopolitical stuff in there. We're just like in uncertain times. So I don't think companies are like the whole like the I guess the attitude isn't like let's go wild and crazy. It's more
Yeah.
like let's be very intentional and conservative with what we're releasing,
Hmm.
which is fine. Like I don't and I did hear one person or maybe two said to me, it's really hard anymore because like so much is out there. Like
Yeah.
there's been so much innovation in our industry over the last 20 years that it's really hard to like, which is why I think there's a lot of Me Too's. But Me Too's of products that have been in the market for 10 years. So like Petcoa, Calibracoa, Petunia crosses.
Yep.
Like SuperCal's been around almost 20 years. And now there's other companies breeding in that hybrid category and bringing products to market that are good. I mean, it's a good product, but it's
And somebody I saw like some Sunfinity Me Too's. I know that there was
yeah,
already some out there.
no,
Because I was because still we got a week left. I was not on Instagram, but I did see all the social content on
mhm,
LinkedIn.
yeah,
And I admittedly, I can't tell you a product that I saw that I was like, "What's that?" I
yeah,
probably was like, "Who," like, I know what that is on the onset. Who is
mhm,
launching that? I will say the display I saw the most coverage of, and this probably has less to do with the product and more to do with just my LinkedIn connections. So not to say that it's a bad product either, but just I'm connected with more ball folks than probably
mhm,
anybody
yeah.
was the yellow petunia display that they did was the bee's knees plus
Newbie, newbie,
newbie. Well, but the display kind of threw me for a loop because it said not so mellow yellow
yeah,
at the top, and I was like, I really was like, did they name a petunia not so mellow yellow? Because that's too
yeah,
much. It's too much of a
yeah.
mouthful.
No, I think they're just saying it's a vibrant yellow.
Yes,
It is, and
but
and there are
that's kind of what I saw.
and I think that was probably your connections
Yeah,
because that yeah, it wasn't the biggest story. I mean, it's a good plant. Newbie is
it
solved
did
a lot of
probably
problems from
photograph
bees
well
knees. Yeah,
that wall.
yeah, yeah, and I think that a lot of times that's what you see is the stuff that photographs well. I will say the product lines that had the most innovation, well, besides one that I'm going to say subs, I'm going to save off to the side for a second. Begonias and dahlias. So like the new Whopper begonia from Benari, it has like black foliage and pink blooms. I mean, and it's like a Whopper, a big, that type of begonia, and it's a Whopper, but the foliage is black and it is awesome. It's like espresso
It's got a
pink.
lot of anthocyanins in it.
Just something, but it's got the darkest foliage I've ever seen, and that's still one of my favorite plants, that whole type of begonia, which we know because I think I drafted it first round in our fantasy plant draft, probably greatest plant pick ever. And then dahlias, which we've seen so much breeding on, and like every company now has a really good series of dahlias. And you think, oh, can there be more? But Beacon Camp to me has the most innovative, wild and crazy dahlias out there. Select has got really good ones, but then Syngenta came out with a new dahlia called Coffee Shop Latte, lavender latte. That's really pretty. Dark foliage, big blooms, good plant. But then let me circle back on the begonias because then the sort of Iconia from Dooman, Eye Candy from Syngenta.
I did see the Iconia display
Yeah,
via
they're,
LinkedIn as
they're
well.
phenomenal. They're beautiful. And then, yeah, he said like the Me Too's, and you mentioned the sunflower, which
Who is it?
it's
Pan Am?
Pan American. Yeah, Pan
Yeah,
Am came out with Always Sunny sunflower. And what I didn't realize, and how long do you think Sunfinity's been around? I'll just ask you. How long? Give me a guess.
8 years on
Okay,
the retail
you're
market
good. It's 10. 10 next year, so 9. So you nailed it. I was thinking 5, but yeah, so 10 years it took
world.
for or 9 years for someone else to come
Well,
out with the Sunfinity, and now Syngenta has 4. They have
yeah, I
2
was gonna
seed and 2 veg.
'cause there's I thought Benari had one. Somebody had another one, but I don't
Yeah,
know if it was as prolific as
right.
Sunfinity.
Well, and Taki has great sunflowers. There's
Yeah,
them, and they're a cut flower sunflower breeding company, and they have some shorter, more controlled landscape types, but nothing really like that
yeah.
Infinity Habit, except the new one from Pan Am. Seeing different colors, like Westhoff always has wild and crazy petunias and calibrachoas, and they had some really crazy new stuff that's awesome. Blue pentas, which is, and again, I'm colorblind,
I've
but
how
it's not
what's it
blue.
okay.
It ain't blue. It's horticulture blue, but when you put it with red and white, it is a red, white, and blue container. Like nobody looks at it and
Yeah,
says red, white, and purple. No, it's clearly a red, white, and blue container. And
it's
then, but their pentas, then they have one called Street Art from Benari that's like this kind of wild and crazy big pentas.
wait a
It is
second.
cool.
Street art, because the one that's been on the market.
Graffiti. But that's them too.
Yeah, I
So
know.
they're allowed there. So
They're
Street
allowed.
Art is just bigger and crazier. It's a good name.
It is, I guess. I wasn't 100% sure that they were graffiti, so I
Yeah.
was like, "Wait a second."
But people do that. Like we saw a lantana introduced that has the exact same name, not series name, but
It was
color
called
name.
Ascot.
What?
It was called Ascot.
What was?
I'm just kidding, 'cause
I'm
the
losing.
the lantana I was thinking was like a bandana or
Oh, bandana ascot. I get it. Well, but yes, so this other company named it like the same color name, like cherry something.
yeah.
And they're like, yeah, the target is clearly bandolero or bandito, whatever.
It's not bandana, it's bandito.
Bandito. I think bandana was. I think that was like the original. I think
Mhm,
bandito is just smaller.
gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, so it was cool. Like we saw a lot of really good stuff. 3 new fireflies.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well, one of them, we were talking to Susie, and she's like, I think by the end of our conversation, she decided it was commercial. Like when we started talking, really feel like it was about a 15-20 minute conversation. I feel like at the beginning it was like experimental, and by the end it was commercial. Like she
Interesting.
was like,
So
"Yeah, you
what
can take
so
pictures." She's like, "Take pictures, write about it." I'm like, "Okay."
so the 3 new, all petunias, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, they revamped the
The
OG,
original.
so they
Yep.
revamped the original, and so I'm not even counting that in the 3.
Okay.
And then there's a small one. Crap, I should have my notes. They have a little one called, I'm gonna probably get it wrong. It's like Firelight. I'm gonna quickly look at my notes, but it's like
Not
Firelight or
firefight?
something. No, Firefight. That'd be awesome. All right, let me find it. Well, Beacon Camp Fire. All right, Twilight.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, Twilight is is the revamp. That's like the revamp of the OG, and that's like for patios, tabletops,
Is it
right?
still
Bedding.
called or flying
Firefly, yeah, it's like
Twilight?
Firefly Twilight or something.
Okay.
Then there's Nightlight, which is for like a little indoor gift plant.
But
And
is it
she
petunia
showed it.
still?
Yeah, it's a petunia,
Okay.
but it's very small. It's like very small.
But how do you get the bloom inside?
Well, she was showing it under like a little grow light. So like they could sell like a little kit that goes on your desk with like a little light and a
I
little
like
pot.
that. I
I
like
do
that,
too.
actually.
I like that a lot. I would get that for somebody. It's probably gonna cost like $7,000. It won't. We
For the
talked
ones
price.
you love.
We talked price a little bit. And then the other two are Moonlight, which is for landscapes and baskets, and those are way more like your modern petunias. Those are pink and pink bicolor, but they still glow white.
Sick.
Yeah, so cool. And she showed them in like a typical 14-inch, 12-inch basket, one cutting in a basket. So it's a vigorous.
Nice.
Nobody could complain about the genetics on these. Like
Love
everybody was whining about the genetics of the original. Like, it's
Yeah,
not a modern petunia. Like, dude, it glows in the dark. Like,
right.
it is what it is. But these new ones are, yeah, super cool. And she actually showed it just like the roots glow too. Like if you were to root this thing in water, the roots glow. Like the
Oh, that's
whole
cool.
thing glows. Yeah. So cool.
That's
Oh
so
yeah.
cool.
So I thought that was, I mean, when you talk
Here
about like a wow factor and take all
here's
of
where they
your
should go with that.
sort of whatever out of it, that was amazing.
Here's where they should go with that. If they can figure out how to do it, I'm sure that
Sure.
somebody could. Is
See.
the one that they have that's if they could do like TC with it and
Yeah.
get the roots to glow. Do you know PW's the plant company was Leaf Joy and then it kind
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
those like test tube things?
Yeah.
That would be sick. Because
That
I
would
have one right now. I think it's a pothos.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
just it's lived in a test tube for since Garden Center Group was in Kansas City. So that's like I think 4 or 5
4
years.
years. Yeah.
And so but it sits on my counter every day. So
Yeah.
that would be sick if at night you could just it was
It
glowing.
glowed. But yeah, other stuff like
Did they have any fertilizer packets next to the petunias?
no, not that I saw. I wasn't looking either. They probably should have.
We might need some they might have a Firefly
Mm.
petunia packet that's being shipped out with all of the petunias.
Which is actually brilliant in a lot of ways because fertilizing petunias, like most people don't. And when they do, they're like, wow, these petunias look way better. Good call. Love it. Therapy. So yeah. So like when I left, I was amped up. Like the whole trip was exciting because people were happy. Like everyone was happy to get back together. Another trend I saw was, and this is gonna sound so lame. Like I said this to someone when we were at St. Gents, we were waiting in line for lunch, which I had two full lunches at St. Gents. I was pretty happy with that.
I was gonna
It was
say,
really
was
good.
the other trend in appetizers? Or did we
I definitely I can tell you what I ate there. It was actually pretty impressive the whole week. But I said, oh, one of the trends I'm seeing is combo recipes. Which right, like everyone just rolls their eyes like, "Oh, really? What is this? 19 or 2007?" Like, yes, and we have seen combo recipes since 2007, but I don't know. I feel like and so one of the presenters, it was actually Chris Carlson, buddy,
Yeah.
at Cicada. He's like, "Yeah, man, I get so many questions from growers and retailers now. Like, just give me combo recipes. We need combo recipes." And so Cicada has not been doing it for 20 years. They've been doing this program for I don't know, maybe 4 years, 3 years. And it's not like you don't buy the inputs together. It's just recipes that but what rooting stations are doing, and I talked to Doug Cole at breakfast one morning, and he said they're doing a lot of kits, like as wholesale, selling young plants as kits. So like they'll find the recipes, but they need help. Like they'll find the recipes from a breeding company or from a plant company, and then they'll put together the inputs that they want to have in that recipe, and then they'll sell it as a liner kit.
Yeah, so you're like, "These 4 liners go for this combo."
Yeah, and this like big centerpiece plant. And then that plant might be dropped in, like, but you're gonna plant the annual liners together. But these combo recipes, and then Syngenta's got a big program of them as well. So does Floor Plant, like Floor Plant Selecta. Taki had a whole new, forget what they called it. I should know. But Taki, oh, Glow. Like they have like their whole Glow program where they put together value and premium combos that, and I guess the retailers have been driving this, but it's also something that's like a trend with the young plant suppliers, the rooting stations. So, and it was cool. They're really about, this whole like you hear a lot, like this series is uniform. They all flower within 7 days. They all, same height on the bench, that kind of thing. That's always like a big selling point of a series or a collection. But now you can sort of swap out any of those colors and any of those plants into making combos that are either monochromatic or like weird and wild or however you want to do it. So I think that the future of combos is going to get pretty exciting in the next few years. Like what you're going to actually see at a garden center or at Lowe's is going to be pretty cool. And it'll
Yeah.
work. Like it'll work when you bring it home. Shade plants. Heard a lot more talk about shade plants
Okay.
than ever. Like it would be cool. Breeding for, breeding new shade plants. We saw a new series of Terrenia.
Oh, see, now that gets me going.
Me
Now, not
too.
that I love Terrenia, but I like to hear that we had a new series of something that is different.
A
Okay.
blue plant for shade. Like
Yeah.
it was vegetative too. So it's gonna
Interesting.
have vigor. And then season extenders. So we keep hearing that. And I feel like that we talked about that in our trends, in our
Yeah.
auto show trends, like driven by probably box stores needing to get people in earlier and later to maximize that space on the store layout. But it benefits everybody. Seeing the season extenders combos for season extension, just breeding for it, you know, it was really cool.
Any new vegetables?
No, like the new well, I mean, yes, I guess Pan Am had a yellow pepper that looked pretty cool, but that's it. We were so things that I didn't see, vegetables, geraniums. Syngenta showed up. There were geraniums, so
Because I
let
just
me
saw somebody
clarify.
post, they were like, "These are the best colors on geraniums I've ever seen." And I wanna say it was like a German display, so it might I
Yeah.
don't
I don't know, but Syngenta had 2 that they showed us, and they were the only company that actively, on our tour through the trials, showed us begonias. Like, I know there were
You mean
begonias from
geraniums?
geraniums, sorry. I know for a fact there were geraniums at Ball, but they were not part of our tour. So it was
Yeah,
probably a supply chain message, right? Like more begonias now shipped out of
yeah.
these facilities or something. Like that was a big message for them last year, is moving all the geranium production. But yeah, so geraniums didn't see coleus. We were only shown coleus at one stop, and that was Kienzler, and they were part of their Terrascape collection. They were cool, but there was just University of Florida breeding,
Mm,
nothing groundbreaking in terms of coleus. A lot of seed, a lot of new seed stuff. But I mean, again, we were at Taki, Sakata, Benari, Pan Am, like huge, Syngenta, like, and I think historically spring trials was started by the seed companies, probably before there were vegetative companies.
yeah.
But so a lot of that, a lot of breeding for disease resistance. We heard it a lot, or disease resistant varieties. Duman had a big presentation about sort of high tech breeding, Rinza breeding for disease resistance. Heard a lot of, you know, let's see, resistant to powdery mildew as being a big screening selection point. And then low to no PGRs. And I've heard that a lot for the last few years. I mean, more and more every year. And part of that's, I mean, any company that's selling in Europe, a lot of
Yeah,
times they're not allowed to use PGRs, or in 2 years they're not gonna be allowed to use PGRs. So,
yeah,
we saw a lot of small, naturally compact plants, which doesn't usually get me going too much because a
yeah.
little stubby dianthus doesn't get me psyched to plant a garden this year. But I see the value in it because I'm looking at these plants in California in the spring. But if you're trying to grow them in Texas or Georgia for summer
Yeah.
sales, you probably want something a little more naturally compact. And then the new Sun Patience was a tiny little Sun Patience called Sun Patience Petite, which was weird to me. And when I mean, I've heard about it for a couple years now, but I get it now because after I saw the display, this is not for in-ground use. This is
Okay.
for baskets.
'Kay.
Uh, and it's for baskets because I mean, there are some Sun Patience baskets, especially if you're buying the standard and not the compact, that get massive.
Yeah,
Like we buy a Sun Patience basket for my mom and one for my mother-in-law every single year. We hang them at their houses before they come back from Florida, so when they get home, it's there. And sometimes I'm like, I don't think that was compact because like that Sun Patience basket by June is like grown up into the gutter, right? Like
yeah,
it's absolutely out of control. So I can see how, again, if you're growing for Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida market, you're going to want these petite, but you don't want to put them in the ground because they don't, like, I feel like, yeah. And Chris even said, like, customers will be disappointed if they plant these in the ground. So they have
yeah,
their place, they have their use. I suspect that Cicada took a while to release this because that's the fear that if somebody takes this home, plants it in the ground, or a grower decides, "Hey, I'm going to grow my 4 inch of some patient's petite," that you might
Yeah.
have some disappointed people. But I don't know. That's what I saw. I'm looking at my see if there's any other notes. Not really. But I will remind the listeners and viewers that there are 5 days of newsletters and 24 videos and thousands of social media posts available if you go
Summed up
to
into 20 minutes.
roartalks.com/CA spring trials. You'll find it all. But and if you want to
Um,
watch funny, and you got some of our videos, like we were knuckleheads and it was fun.
well, I'm sure it was fun. So there's two things that I want to ask about. The
All
first
right.
thing you mentioned in kind of seeing what you saw a lot of, and
Yeah.
I have a certain feeling on these plants, and I want to get your gut feeling, not about what you saw. 'Cause I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here. How do you feel about dahlias?
How I feel about dahlias is evolving. So 10 years ago, I remember
Yeah.
this like yesterday. 10 years ago, we were at the garden center, maybe 11 years ago, because we were in Chicago. We were at probably Platt Hill. I always let my girls pick out the flowers that, like I picked out 80% of the plants. And then I said, all right, you guys can each pick one or two flowers. And Paige picked a dahlia. And it was a nice dahlia. It was pink. It was her favorite color at the time. Brought it home, potted it up, put it by the front door, and it bloomed and it was absolutely beautiful. And then it did nothing for the entire rest of the season. And I was like, this plant sucks. And I was like, I'm never buying a dahlia again. Like literally, I remember it. And I probably went 10 years and I still don't think I've ever paid my own money for a dahlia. But I've gotten a bunch in samples over the last couple years. And last year I got dahlias in a sample. Don't remember from who. Trying to think who they were, but it would have been from. I don't know. But anyways, and I had three of them in like a 12-inch pot, like a
Yeah.
nice container by my like kind of where I walk past every day to come in the garage, and those things bloomed all summer long. I deadhead them, I treated them pretty well. I watered them, I fertilized them, like I cared for them. They do take care.
Yeah, that's my
They were
problem.
pretty awesome all year. And so, like, I feel like breeding of dahlias has improved. It's kind of like echinacea. Like they used to just suck. Like it was a bloom. It was like a stick in a bloom.
My
And now
problem
there's
is
like
that they're
8 more.
unforgiving.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
they are.
that is that, like, if you miss a watering, like, and, like, go away for a weekend and somebody doesn't water your plants, like,
That's
they're just
fair.
dead.
Yeah,
It's like, they're not coming back, and
yeah.
I don't like that. The other thing is,
Well, they're an impulse grab. Like that's
I
an
mean,
impulse plant.
they are stunning at the garden center,
Yeah.
but I feel like they are to me, they are one of those plants that will never look as good as the day I bought it.
Mm.
Versus I feel like as a gardener, I want the day I bought it to be the worst that I've seen
Right.
it as. And so like I also feel like that I don't know, my his and this goes back to being working in the garden center, is that they're so
Yeah.
fragile. Like
Yeah.
because they're rigid, right? So like
Mhm.
stem doesn't bend, it just snaps. And then you get to
Yeah.
market and you got six stems have snapped off, and I got just one
Right. No, it's
singular.
true.
I'm
And
like,
they
yeah,
have big
$5.
blooms, which doesn't help.
Right. So I don't know. That's maybe I'm just maybe I need to give dahlias another chance, but I don't know. We'll
Mm.
see.
And maybe the fact that they are being bought in combos or containers and brought home and set out and watered is better than buying them in a 4-inch pot and trying to plant them yourself and, not having good drainage. And then all of a sudden they look lousy. So maybe it is like buying a pre-bought container or pot of dahlias, you're going to have a better success rate than if the average homeowner starts trying to mess around with them themselves.
Yeah, I don't. That's where I wouldn't even if I go back to dahlias, I'm gonna buy a big pot of them. Then I'll have to figure out the watering. All right, just wanted to get your thoughts on that because everybody kind of, and that's one thing I remember from spring trials. There's
Mhm.
always a lot of dahlias. I feel like, and I feel like it's because they look great. Like the growers
Yeah.
that grow for spring trials and the environment
Yeah.
can get dahlias really nice. And
Yeah.
so, like, you come in and you're like, holy, those things look
Right.
awesome. But then, like, as a consumer, I have had, like, that is the plant that I'm like, Alex walks in. She's like, oh, it's so pretty. Can we get it? I'm like, absolutely not. Don't look at it. Uh,
I do the same thing. That's so funny you say that. But
So,
but I will say that the fact that, there's probably 6 companies that or 5 or 6 companies that we see at spring trials every single year that are like major dahlia breeders
yeah.
and have like, 10 years ago they had 2 series, now they have 6. tells me that the sales are there.
Yeah.
Because if the sales weren't there, they wouldn't be investing bajillions of dollars breeding these things. And, just for a pretty picture and the fact that they do look nice in California in March, like there's got to be something there. And the retail buyers must gravitate toward them, probably because they look nice, probably because they look good on the bench and the sell through's probably high.
Yep.
Yeah. That'd be an
And
interesting one to do like a study on, like follow, pick 100 consumers and follow their success with dahlias through the season. If 100 of them get 6 dahlias and,
you do it like
70 of them end up with no dahlias on June 5th.
you do it like Netflix did it with quarterbacks and
Yeah.
follow them through the season, but we're just going to follow consumers that bought dahlias.
Bought a dahlia. Yeah. See if they come back to buy one next year. And they probably will, like, because they're pretty. Yeah.
It'll
Any
be
other
like
question?
it'll be like it's July 14th.
Yeah.
James went away for the weekend. He came back and his dahlias hadn't been watered. They're likely done for the season.
I'll be dead serious. If my dahlias still look good on July 14th, that's a win.
All right. The other question that I have: how was the food? What? Give me. I need some highlights.
It was good. We don't do food as well as done food in the past because we do, and it does sound like it sounds hyperbolic, but I get up at 5:30. I hit the gym. At 7:30, we leave the hotel, and at about 6 p.m., we start writing newsletter, editing videos, and try to get to bed by 11.
You can usually get Hanson's energy drinks 2 for $3 at 7-Eleven.
I'm drinking water and coffee till 10, then water. But so these are crazy long days. So the food, we're not really going anywhere to sit down and have a nice meal. That said, it's California, so you can get quick meals that are really good.
Yeah.
So we had Vietnamese noodles one evening that was really, really good. And this is from a place in a strip mall, right? It's legit. We had Hawaiian barbecue one day for lunch because we knew the stop we were going to didn't have a good lunch. So we stopped and got Hawaiian barbecue. Phenomenal. And Osvaldo eats like I do. We're almost, although he eats weirder things, but quantity wise and spice. So he and I we eat pretty much the same. Yeah, he got a fish. We went to a Mexican restaurant. He got a fish that came as a fish. It was smiling. It was smiling at you. And he was digging stuff out of its cheeks. And I was like, dude, I don't know what the hell you're eating, but that's not how I grew up in suburban Cleveland. But he has a better experience with food than I do. But so we had some good Mexican food.
Did you go to Spencer McKenzie's?
We did. We did Spencer McKenzie's one night, and I had 5 fish tacos.
Did you get the ahi pocket?
No, but I didn't. But Jen did and Osvaldo did.
What'd they say?
They said it was fantastic.
Okay.
It was Taco Tuesday. It was 2 for 1s. So I got 4, and then Jen got 2, but she only wanted 1. So I ended up eating 5 fish tacos.
I'm glad you clarified that because you said they were 2 for 1. And I was like, how did you get 5?
Because Jen had a spare.
Okay. Got
it was very good. One thing there, and I don't drink, but they were out of, when we sat down, they're like, our beer taps and our soda taps aren't working.
And you're like,
okay.
Sick.
Yeah, whatever.
I love water.
So Chris is like, I'll do a Modelo. Jen's like, I'll do a Corona. And Osvaldo's like, well, let me wait and, have some water first. And she came back. She's like, we don't have any Modelos or Coronas in bottles. And Jen's like, well, what do you have? She's like, we have Mick Ultra and Coors Light.
Heck yeah.
Right? And
Chris
and Jen were like, nah, I think we're good. And I'm like, I look at Jen, I'm like, how many Coors Lights have you drank in your life? You'll be fine. But no. So it was weird. Other food, Pan Am had really good food. It was one of the better spring trials lunches I think I'd ever had.
Coors Light, by the way, brings me back to a spring trials memory.
You tapping the keg?
No. That is a great memory. But this one was my first spring trials where it was just set up. But I wanted a beer like a Coors Light.
Yeah.
And we happened to be at, what was that? There was that brewery restaurant in Ventura.
Anacapa
Brewing.
Yeah.
And we rolled in there and I got chicken and waffles, which was interesting.
Yeah, which is a great thing to have there. They closed. That place is gone.
All right, then I can say this. That waiter was such a dick.
He was.
When I was like, hey, do you have, I just want a domestic light beer. And he was like, sir.
Not here.
Well, no, remember his expletive answer was, "Sir, we brew all our own beers here. They're all domestic." And I was just like, "You know what
Funny.
I'm talking about." And he was just like, "I recommend the blonde. It's our lightest beer." And I was just like,
Mm.
"Okay,
Yeah, you
Jacko."
were not happy.
No.
And we
And
were
then
there with it was like me, you, and Reed.
oh, I think Claire and Monique were there as well,
Okay.
because I remember the table just being like,
Yeah,
laughing, and I was just like,
cool.
"Never again." I don't know
Yeah,
if I ever
well,
went back there.
that's
I was
probably
ang
why they're out of business.
That's yeah.
Yeah. I actually tried to take the group there a couple years ago. I was like, "Oh, we gotta go to this place. They have chicken and waffles. It's really good. You're gonna love it there." And we walked up and down the street, and it was just gone.
Well, with how fast restaurants change, I'd be shocked if any of my favorites are
Yeah.
still there.
Well, and I think that California restaurants got slaughtered during COVID. Like,
Like,
they
we used to
probably
go
weren't allowed
there,
to open until 2023.
we used to like, I'm thinking the ones that I remember were Anacapa, the barbecue joint, that was down the street from there.
It was like a Thai place that
Yeah, it was like
everybody liked.
yeah, maybe it was like lemongrass, I don't know, that's
Yeah, lemongrass was there.
and so then excuse
Hmm.
me, but near the hotel was Duke's,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and there was a place across the street from Duke's that had, like,
Yeah, that was
outdoor
relatively new.
yeah,
I don't know, but we used to go there for St. Patty's Day.
yeah. Yeah, I remember watching some of the NCAA tournament there. This is
Yeah.
like a big sports bar, had
That
outdoor
the
stuff.
name of that'll come to me. It's still there, and it's still good. Golden China's gone.
I
Like, the
know.
whole building's gone. It's
Never
but
ate there.
no.
Never ate a single piece of food there.
But it's not been rebuilt, so it's just like a vacant lot, but the actual
Do
sign.
people still do karaoke in the vacant lot at 11 o'clock at
They might.
night?
They might. Actually, there was nothing in the vacant lot, which tells me Ventura police keep a tight eye on the vacant lot because that should be like an encampment. But there is a sign, the sign frame is out front. Like, the sign is gone, but the frame is still there. And we actually discussed that. Claire and I discussed. It's good. A lot of memories. But I will say that the locations that had multiple companies at the location, one thing I noticed, Osvaldo actually called it out, which is he's a little more objective than the rest of us. He said, "Well, it felt like they're all competing, like, for just competing with each other." And it did, especially at the Polo Grounds and Polo Club, where there were like 12 companies there now because they added Walter's Gardens. They added all the suppliers out of Israel. Yeah. And then there's a couple like young plant production companies like Vivero.
'Kay.
Yeah. I think there were like 11 or 12 companies there now,
Wow.
which makes it really hard to cover from a media perspective, but also really hard for like a distribution company bus pulling up. Because you can't, I mean, if you gave each one of those tents 30 minutes, you're there
Yeah,
for 6 hours.
yeah,
That ain't gonna happen. So, um, but yeah. But then the solo stops, like, Benari always has such a good vibe, but it's just that. And they're actually at a new location called Port Lamar Nursery, but Port Lamar grew all their products. So, it
right.
was still grown on site. It was
Well,
still
that's
in a
good.
tunnel greenhouse, not like a under a tent. Duman has been displaying under a tent now for a while.
Mhm.
So they've figured it out, and the tent actually has, like, clear panels. It was actually hot inside the tent with sun,
Yeah,
which is fine. You don't even feel like you're in a tent. The plant material at every location was phenomenal.
'kay.
I think
Yeah, that's what I've seen. It looks great.
maybe once or twice someone said, "Hey, I don't wanna make excuses, but this isn't the best representation of the plant." Some years you hear that at every stop. This year, no, and it was 100 degrees the week prior,
Oh,
like
wow.
100 plus.
Yeah.
No, plant material was absolutely phenomenal from everybody. It's like huge kudos. Like, I didn't see anything. A couple things like that didn't come into flower like perennials. Like, well, yeah, you can't be perfect. But yeah, it was really cool. Darwin perennials. And Seth isn't here. Darwin introduced a full new series of daylilies, which are very beautiful, and that is a
Alright.
big deal. Make me happy. I like seeing. I hadn't seen daylilies at spring trials
Yeah.
in maybe ever.
Yeah, let's
Now
rock.
I've got a putting green, and if you do watch the Darwin Perennials video from Grower Talks, I sunk my putt on the first try. Chris and Jen missed.
Way to go, Shooter McGavin.
It was pretty awesome. Probably maybe the highlight of my athletic career. But yeah, I was looking at. So I mean, I was gonna go through our LA Auto Show and how I was trying to like put trends to that, but I feel like I was pretty far off. So I don't want to just
It's
say.
alright. I was
Well, I
thinking
mean, I
about
can
it
make
in
it.
my
I can
head.
make it fit. I can
I
make
was
it fit.
well, don't make it fit. I think there's some things that fit and some things that didn't. I think
Yeah.
we talked about big plants, and I did not hear much about big plants from you in
Yeah,
your
The
description.
Whoppers,
Yes,
and
Whoppers.
yeah. I mean, I guess we
I didn't hear
did big
anything about
combos.
sustainability. Interesting,
No, other than low to no PGR, that kind of stuff. But nothing specifically called out.
interesting.
But it also could be because a lot of that's just sort of baked into the culture of companies anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, every stop had a recycle bin. You know what I mean? Like nobody was like throwing their trash in a burn pile. you know?
I'll never forget when I took Alex back. This is like one of the first couple years we were dating, and we're sitting there. I think it was like 4th of July, and she's like, "What is that big barrel out near the woods next to your parents' house?" I was like, "Oh, it's a burn barrel." And she's
yeah.
like, "What is that for?" I was like,
Barrel.
"Well, we got a lot of burnable trash, and that's where it goes. You just burn it."
Yeah.
And she was just like, I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "It's not me, okay? Like, this is my parents. Like, this is what they're doing out here."
You would totally have one if you could in the suburbs.
I still it took me a long time to be okay with the cardboard recycling. Like, I'd be like, We should save it and burn it." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Why?" And I was like,
Why?
"I don't know, it starts good fires." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Yes, but if we're not having a fire, then we don't need to save the cardboard to burn it, like, they can recycle it." And I was like, "Okay." I was like,
And
"But
you're
then
not gonna put it
I
in
gotta
your
fold it
indoor
all up."
fireplace. Just fill the house with smoke.
So, yeah, I've gotten better about recycling. I care about the environment. I just, certain
Yeah.
things. So you're like, "Oh, well, if we lose electricity, I got cardboard.
Yeah.
Heat the
I don't
house."
blame you. Eat the house of cardboard. Oh my god. All right, we gotta close it up real quick. I do have a shout out and a hot take.
All right. You
You
go
ready?
first. I got a shout out too, but mine's
Sure.
personal.
All right, my shout out is to Epcot. So the week before spring trials, I journeyed with my family and my parents, so six of us, to Universal Studios for 3 days and Disney for 3 days, which is a long 6 days, but awesome. And I will advocate if you are a parent, do not take little kids to Disney. Wait till they're teenagers because it is a heck of a lot more fun. There are no meltdowns, no crying.
Interesting.
It's just fun with
Because
teenagers.
I'm being pressured to plan a trip right now
Oh,
for the
yeah. Well,
fall.
you have to. Yeah. You don't have a choice.
You just said,
I know, but it is a rite of passage. We took our girls and they were little and they had
but
a blast. And
we're
it was
looking at
just, it's just,
Disneyland in
oh,
California.
then, okay. I
'Cause
don't
they
know
have the
anything about that.
Cars land, and Sammy's really into cars.
No, that's cool.
So
But
I do
Epcot,
wanna so you're gonna go back to your shout out, but I think in a future episode, I wanna cover more of what you saw at Disney,
yeah.
and Seth can chime
Okay.
in with his Disney experiences.
Yeah, we should. We should. I will just give a shout out. It was really cool. They tied in food and flowers and wine and everything. And the way that Epcot's set up with the different countries, like around the world, so they could have themed displays. They can have English tea gardens. They had an English tea garden sponsored by it's the big tea company.
I know it's what is it?
Tetley. No, not Tetley. Twinings.
Oh, yeah,
Twinings.
is it Twinnings or Twinings?
Twinings or Twinings. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'd have to ask Claire. But it was just really cool. Like I thought it was neat. It was well done. Big flower towers. Shout out to Sun Patients. They were looking good.
they always have a giant presence there.
Yeah, just the whole thing was really cool. And I had no idea what was going on. So
Yeah,
when we walked into Epcot, like first thing I saw was a big giant sign like Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. And I was picking up stuff. It was great. Took a bunch of pictures.
because Seth and I did the same thing. We stumbled into it one day.
Yeah, but it was really neat. And then my hot take is that baseball season started last week as well. We are recording this on a Monday. Hopefully, get it out on a Monday. Last week was spring trials, but probably equally important was Major League Baseball season. If you don't know, Mason and I are fans of two teams in the same division
Rival teams.
and rival teams. Detroit Tigers is his team, Cleveland
Just teams that
Guardians is
a
mine.
team that just happened to eliminate the other team from contention last year.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true. And I was looking at it because I was thinking we were both mid-market teams, but the Detroit Tigers payroll is 217 million and the Guardians payroll is 80. So clearly they are in a different economic bracket than we are. But I still think our teams do have a really good chance of going 1-2 in the division. I don't know how that 1-2 will shake out. Is Seth a Sox fan, or does he not know what baseball is?
I would wager that if you gave him a map and said we circled did the north south circles and said where do like which area is predominantly Cubs, which area is
We're going back.
predominantly White Sox, he would have no idea.
And I'm from Cleveland, and you're from Michigan, Detroit area, northern. And we probably know more about Chicago sports than Seth. But
Yes.
anyways, next time Seth's not on the podcast, we should just talk sports because.
That's a great idea, actually,
Yeah.
because
And
there's
to be
this whole
honest,
bear.
the NBA playoffs could be. I mean, there could be a lot of Cavs Pistons going on in NBA in the next month and a half, 2 months. So
Yeah.
either way, baseball coming up.
Well,
Wearing the Guardians
and
hat. It's gonna be fun.
the Bears moving stadiums, that's constantly what's happening. Will they, won't they? And Seth knows
Browns are building a new stadium. Not that it matters. We barely have a football team. I don't talk
I'm about
football.
payroll. Our baseball payroll is almost what you guys are paying Deshaun Watson every year.
I was about to say our payroll revolves around one scumbag quarterback. Don't even get me started. As a parent of young girls, I'm repulsed by our choice of where we're spending our money.
And I can appreciate that. And that'll take me to my shout out.
Let's hear it. Deshaun Watson. Wait,
No. Parent of young girls.
Okay.
So shout out goes to my daughter. She's 2. Daphne, over this past weekend, was potty training weekend.
Wow.
So as you can see, my hands are clean. I'm not covered in human excrement.
That's good.
And yeah, obviously, as someone that's done this twice,
Yeah,
it's
a big deal.
The trials and tribulations of potty, and they don't call it potty training anymore, but for our listeners, potty training, it's potty learning. Your children are not dogs. They're learning to use the potty. You're not training them.
You're teaching them to crap in a container. Dogs don't even do that. Like cats do that. So maybe you're a cat.
So anyway, but regardless, potty training weekend, and
that's
yeah,
awesome.
Alex had to go to and so I don't know, the whole thing now, most people subscribe to this is like you take a weekend and like there's like a step-by-step process. Like day 1, you do this, day 2, you do this. And so Alex started alone on Friday because I had to work in the morning at least till the afternoon. And so then I came in, helped out on Friday afternoon. And then Saturday we did it all together. And then day 3 was yesterday. And so then Alex had to leave at like 11:30 yesterday morning until the kids went to bed. She was at this play that took forever. And yeah, we did it. No accidents yesterday. So
that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
To be honest, one weekend boot camp sounds a heck of a lot more like training than the old school training.
It's a potty learning workshop.
Okay. All right. Call it what you want. I'm glad your kid is housebroken. That's awesome. Good for her. Shout out Daphne.
Yeah.
I remember at some point saying, I don't remember which kid it was, but I don't think she's ever going to get potty trained. And my mom's like, well, my mom told me that nobody walks down the aisle peeing in their dress. So at some point she'll be potty trained. I was like, all right, fair enough.
I mean,
our daycare lady potty trained Emma 100%. Our daycare lady was a pro. Like she was the potty learning weekend before the potty learning weekend was invented.
Good job, Daphne. You can't hear it, but she's yelling down to me currently that she pooped. So had to let her know that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the struggle. But that's a live parenting moment here on GH Squad.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. Well, I guess with that, we can close it. That's it for episode 18. So just a quick question. Do you miss spring trials, or are you just really happy to be involved in different things right
I there's a piece of me that misses it, but at the same time, I feel like I'll be ready to go back when there's bigger things.
Sounds good.
I say that meaning that everything that you described and everything that I've seen on social media, I feel like if I had went back this year, I wouldn't have been like, wow, so much has changed. Maybe stop wise, but I don't know. I feel like we're due for a renaissance in plants in the industry of some sort. And I don't know necessarily where it's coming from, but that's, I think, my next foray. Just because when that happens, there will be new requirements for what I do. And so that's when I would get involved again is, from a fertilizer angle, when I need to be there, is when I'll be back.
Okay. Well, maybe the next plant renaissance will be what those plants are eating. So
what's for lunch? You.
For lunch, you. Okay.
All right, Bill.
All right. To our listeners, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as I always repeat, we want to connect with you. Comment about what you liked. If you went to spring trials, let us know what you think. If you agree with some of the trends I called out or disagree, if you need potty training advice, you know where to find us. Throw out some ideas or topics to discuss. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. Nobody listens on Amazon Music. If you do, shout out.
This is a funny final story. I told my mom, I was like, "Hey, did you listen to the podcast this week?" She goes, "You have a podcast?" And I was like, "I told you this when I was home over Christmas." And then she goes, "Oh, I don't remember that." And she goes, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You should give it a listen. I'll send you. You have Spotify?" She goes, "No." She goes, "Are you guys on Amazon?"
You're like, of course we are.
So
Like, yeah,
I was like, "Mom, I have no idea how to send you an Amazon podcast link." But I was like, "This will be a very funny thing because we always joke that no one listens on Amazon,
yep,
and you may be the first person to listen
yep.
on Amazon Music."
All right.
So
Michigan's our number one state for Amazon listens.
I just
I
thought it
can
was funny.
guarantee you that if she listened once. But really, the best way to get in touch, find out what we're up to, is follow us on Instagram at GH Squad Pod. Mason will be back on Instagram soon.
Maybe.
And reach out to us individually. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, email, phone call, fax, however you want to get in touch. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and all that. Be a friend, tell a friend about the show. And we will be back next week. Maybe we'll have all three of us. I
Possibly.
hope. Yeah. We'll have to think of a good topic.
All right.
All right, man. Have a good
See ya.
week.
You too.
Bye.